The collection has many inspirations. I think in some ways I've been writing this book my whole life and finding ways through the ideas, figuring out questions about identity and morality, how we see ourselves in others and how we are shaped by the world around us and our earliest experiences. A lot of it deals with a lot of personal changes that have happened in my life in recent years, but many of the seeds of those changes were planted decades ago, and it's only now that they're in a way coming to fruition. One of the epigraphs of the book says, there are years that ask questions and years that answer, from Their Eyes Were Watching God, by Zora Neale Hurston. And yeah, I think the book was a way for me to ask big questions about how I had ended up in situations that I later couldn't recognize as being true and reflective of who I really was, and asking myself questions about what identity is. And my hope is that people will read the collection and it will resonate with them in ways that they can also ask themselves questions about what they have taken on from the social structures and the ideologies that we grew up in, and finding ways to become their most authentic selves. Since choosing Chaotic Good as the title of my book, I've heard the word chaos everywhere. It could just be that I'm more aware of it now. I think in the book, I also write a line where I'm like, once you learn a word, you see it everywhere. And that's definitely been the case for me with chaos. It's become this idea that I'm wrestling with a lot. I initially chose it because I saw it online as part of a meme from a D&D, Dungeons and Dragons Matrix alignment, where it was like assigning ethics and morality characterizations to different characters. And I just thought I liked the idea of chaos in contrast, but also in tandem with goodness, as a way for thinking of alternate moralities and how we navigate the world in ways that maybe go against the status quo, but lead to ultimate liberation and authenticity. So I think chaos is double-edged. Obviously, it has this like negative connotation of disarray, disorder, destruction. But I think sometimes, like the symbolic image of the phoenix rising from the ashes, sometimes you have to destroy something in order to create something much more beautiful. That has certainly been true in my life, and that was my hope for bringing together the poems in the collection. Yeah, chaos can be very painful, and one thing that I wanted to do with this book was to lean into that pain. There's a lot of looking back and looking forward, and looking through other people and types of mirroring in landscapes and in relationships and in words and in how we break apart words and put sentences and ideas together. And it was a way for me to lyricize that pain and to communicate it in a way that I think people could understand and people could relate to, but also that taps into how so much of what we experience, it codifies pain, and it can be a way for us to sublimate pain. So poetry has certainly been, a great way for me to find ways to articulate the ineffable and to understand things which were layered and at times contradictory, and to sublimate the ideas that I found really difficult and were deeply buried but needed to come out. So form for me has been a great way of containing but also ordering the emotional registers of the poems, which are often very complex and reflect experiences that were very ambivalent and very fraught with difficult ideas and difficult situations and many different contexts that, were informing what was going on. My mind is like, I tend to like fixate on details. And so it was really fun to process those emotions and put them into a way that could be orderly and digestible, but which also echo at times the situations that they're talking about. So there are lots of forms that use repetition in some way, whether it's like a sestina where there's a repeating end word, or a pantoum that repeats lines, or a specular poem or a mirror poem where words are and lines are reflected and inverted. And throughout much of the book, there's a lot of this exploration of intergenerational trauma, and so cycles, in reflections and mirroring, or things repeating themselves and, going back and going forward. And so those forms made sense, and I was drawn to them quite naturally, and they were really fun to play with. And it was great to like stretch myself and to find myself at times writing things that I didn't expect to, because the form required me to write towards a certain end word or a certain idea. It feels wonderful to be shortlisted for the T.S. Eliot Prize. It's such a tremendous honor, and it's an incredible shortlist. So it's just wonderful to be alongside so many other incredible poets, and to have my work recognized in this way, and to know that the judges have responded to it and seen something special in it. It means the world.